Welcome to Business Outlook, a podcast by the Albuquerque Journal where we focus on 4 revolving themes: real estate, small business, emerging leaders, and technology. If you enjoy our podcasts, please like and subscribe and consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal to help us continue to bring you more content like this. You can find this episode and all our podcasts on the Albuquerque Journal website, abqjournal.com, as well as YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. See the show notes for a discount on a digital subscription. Thank you for supporting the Albuquerque Journal, New Mexico's leading local news source.
Welcome to Business Outlook, a podcast from the Albuquerque Journal Business Desk. My name is Megan Gleason, and I'm an assistant editor here at the Journal. I want to give a big shout out to Central New Mexico Community College for sponsoring this podcast and making this kind of local news possible. Today, we're talking with Sabri Sansoy, who's an expert in AI and robotics. He's the founder of New Mexico Artificial Intelligence, or newmexico.ai. We talk about AI's market in New Mexico, its unprecedented growth, how we can have legislators consider this, all sorts of things. So I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. Thanks for watching.
CNM is truly one college with infinite possibilities in tech and data sciences. CNM offers programs where everyone can learn about software, apps, or how to build websites. You can also choose from AI programs and machine learning, the Internet of Things, and so much more. CNM, one college, infinite possibilities, and a proud sponsor of the Albuquerque Journal's Business Outlook.
I'm here with Sabri Sansoy today, and we're going to talk about tech, specifically AI and robotics. So, Sabri, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Where do I start? So I'm a native New Mexican. Parents emigrated from Turkey to Las Vegas, New Mexico, where he was a doctor, so I grew up there. And then, gosh, I've got so much to talk about, but I pretty much my whole career has been in the Air Force, and then the internet. I was in Hollywood for a while at Sony Pictures, and then ventured into advertising. And then I've been doing a lot of robotics and AI since I can remember. But I moved back to New Mexico to take care of my mom. She's 83 years old in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I wanted to bring my expertise here to New Mexico for AI and anything robotics. So we formed this company called newmexico.ai with 2 colleagues, and with the goal of educating folks on the latest in AI and how they can integrate these tools. So that's if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I read the Santa Fe Reporter story that's in your LinkedIn about a robot that cleans up horse manure.
Yeah, yes. There's that one. There's also that flew me out to Dubai because they're also interested in manure robots for camels. So the problem is there's so much material. So I just don't know where to put this on the robot as it collects it. So that's what we're working on right now.
Yeah. There's so much for it. Like I was in the vineyards a couple months ago, and they're learning how to use technology to collect grapes or chilies and just fields that you wouldn't expect robotics to be in.
Well, yeah, I've worked in all those industries. So I was, Central California trying to work with farmers. It's a difficult problem. It's nothing like the robots that you see in warehouses, Amazon. Outside, you have animals eating your cables. You have batteries exploding because of the heat. Would I go back in agriculture? Well, who knows? It's so today. New Mexico.ai, I think when we talked, trying to get into the businesses of New Mexico. Right now, all our work is from outside New Mexico, which is ironic. Mm-hmm. And one of the major projects that we're helping right now is a company called Brightcourt Solutions. What we're doing is we're training an AI to recognize active weapon shooters. So we've trained on AR-15s, all kinds of pistols, with the goal of these drones. Once we detect a person with a gun, these drones come in, we deactivate the weapon, not the person. Again, these retired Navy SEALs, Jeff Ross and some of the brilliant folks there, it's such a what do you call it? It's a great use of AI, right?
Yeah.
And other projects for advertising, which I can't talk about yet. So we're using some AI for some of the cool features. Like this morning was announced the text to video games. So you would upload one single image and you would tell it what kind of game do you want, and it's generating the game right away. This one's from Google DeepMind called Genie 2. You should check it out.
It's amazing, what you can do with AI. And I feel like it just keeps growing and getting smarter and smarter. So, but maybe let's go back a little bit. Tell me what artificial intelligence is and how it works.
Well, good question. Is it truly artificial intelligence? I think today it's just a marketing term. It's not. It was coined in 1955 by John McCarthy, who was a computer scientist. It's a computer that can reason, act like a human, all that stuff. We're still far from that. Generative AI like ChatGPT, these large language models. At first, we all thought maybe they are really reasoning, but it's looking more and more like it's not. It's more like what we call memorization. In the past, I used to give this example. The cat ate the food because it was tasty. What was it referring to? It is the food, right? The cat ate the food because it was hungry. It refers to the cat, right? So, and then fast forward to ChatGPT. If you ask that same question, it knew what it was, right? It was a cat. And then just to fool the system, I said the suitcase ate the food because it was tasty, and the response was, "This doesn't make any sense because suitcases don't eat food." So I'm like, "Oh, wow, this thing is actually thinking." But as we move forward, ChatGPT's been around now for a year, 2 years maybe. We're learning more about the limits. It hallucinates a lot. I don't know if you've heard this term, meaning it's giving you false information. So.
Yeah. Our editor often refers to it as a lazy intern. So give it a simple task, and it can do it, and it might do it right, but double check.
Well, on that note, the hot new thing are AI agents. I don't know if you've heard of these things. Basically, it's a digital version of a person that you need. It'll do anything that you want. There's two frameworks that I use. One's Microsoft AutoGen. The other is crewai.com. Basically, you create a person, you give it a name, a personality, a task, a title, and then you create several of these, and you have them work together. This is a game changer. They're proven to work. And today, you can even add a voice to one. I mean, here's an example I want to show you guys, or if I can pull this up here.
So does this voice have a name and a personality?
I could give it a name. I haven't yet. So so all of them offer them now. This is a ChatGPT's voice agent. And let's see if she responds. Hey, good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I am good. I'm here with Megan Gleason on a podcast talking about AI agents.
That's fantastic. AI agents are such an interesting topic. Is there a specific aspect of AI agents you're focusing on in the podcast?
Not really. But anyway, thank you. Actually, one of my favorite features of this, I was in Turkey. And here, I'll show you an example. Mm-hmm. Hey, so every time you hear English, can you translate directly to Spanish? And every time you hear Spanish, can you translate directly to English?
Entendido. Estoy listo para traducir.
Okay. All right. So, hi, how are you doing?
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Estoy muy bien. ¿Y tú?
I'm doing very well. And you?
So my point is now you have a direct translation.
Wow.
This device will I think it's 31 languages or 32 languages that you can talk directly to. Most recently, I had a Korean film director didn't speak any English in my car. I was giving him a ride, and this was so useful in communicating with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is this being used in New Mexico to its full potential? Is it still in the testing stage? Are we seeing enough of it?
It's out there, but I don't know. I've given talks at the legislature. I've given talks to several companies, meetups, all that, and It's I don't know what it is. Just trying to get more and more people involved. Actually, I'm working with Paul Chavez from State of the Heart Recovery in leveraging AI in addiction recovery and also on the business aspect of his on the business side. Talking like the Fusion Tech Robotics I mentioned. It's a new company that we're starting because it looks like fusion energy is about to happen. And from my robotics background, they're interested in building robots to inspect these fusion reactors because it's such a hostile environment. So we have to build these new systems to go in, inspect, survive heat, vacuum. I mean, there's a whole list of stuff. So that's we're actively working on too. The other, I haven't talked to the gentleman in a while, but wildlife protection management. There's several horses, wild horses out in Placitas that are starving to death. And the idea is that we have these remote stations where they come to, they feed, and then we also inject them with birth control to manage that population, both women and men, girls. I mean, horses. I got there's so many opportunities to leverage AI. And I'm just, we're a 3-man team. Or 3-person team, I should say. And in the medical world, energy, even in fashion, I was approached by IBM Watson to integrate their new AI tech that would change colors based on the emotions of tweets. So we built a dress for the Met Gala that would change colors in real time. That was that was a big project. What else?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm almost surprised as well that it hasn't come up more in New Mexico, especially at the legislature level. Like we saw a law last year pass about using AI and political ads and having to disclose that, but we haven't seen like this kind of broad spectrum of everything you can use it for and teaching people how to use it and regulating it.
Yeah.
How do we step in that direction?
I've tried. I've met with the governor's office. I've met with the city of Santa Fe is interested in an AI agent to fulfill a role that we're still proposing. It's a good question. I mean, I taught CNM briefly. I don't know. I think New Mexico, we don't have the critical population number. The whole state is 1.5 million people. I just came from LA, which is 7-8 million people, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm going to keep trying, keep going to meetups, keep talking to people, and thank you for this podcast. Hopefully this will help also.
Yeah, and change can be new and scary. And I was at an economic forum breakfast a couple months ago where they were talking about AI, and they brought up the concern of like, oh, AI is going to steal my job. And the presenter responded with, AI might not steal your job, but somebody using AI is more likely to steal your job. So like everybody needs to get on this train.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. It's a game changer. One of I forgot which conference I was at, a gentleman asked me, well, what else can ChatGPT do? I said, well, here's a piece of paper, sketch a website that you want. I put the name of colors that you want. I took a picture of it, sent it to ChatGPT, asked it to write the HTML code for it. It wrote the code. I brought the code back into my laptop, showed it to everyone. I mean, this thing wrote the software for a sketch that he did. Mm-hmm. In other words, it's democratized. You can become a software developer. You can create an app if you want on your own. You don't have to have software experience, which on the hindsight is not too good for software developers. Because maybe in 5 years, you don't need software developers anymore. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it also relates to maybe besides software developers, the job shortage we're seeing. We just keep hearing about we don't have enough workers, we don't have enough this or that, and AI could maybe help bridge that gap.
Well, there's 10 companies making robots to help fulfill this need. Robots that actually do stuff, fold laundry, cook for you. I mean, it's an amazing time right now. Tesla, they're building their Optimus robot. There's Figure One. There's I was on the show BattleBots, to make killer robots, and I want to plug our New Mexico team, Atomic Chili. So we're essentially trying to create the chili roaster and spin that at 200 miles an hour as a weapon. So stay tuned.
That's very New Mexico.
But they wouldn't let me put any organics in there, like the smell, right? It's really about the smell. But so the shortage, there is a shortage, especially in the agriculture world for picking stuff, even for horse shovel, or what do you call it, mucking horse manure. There's just people don't want to do it, and the ranch owners don't want to pay $20 an hour for someone to do it. So, I don't know. It's interesting times.
And I feel like AI can seem very daunting to people. Like, this is so advanced and I don't know anything about it and I don't know how to use it. Can you speak to how user-friendly it is?
Well, that's why we formed New Mexico.ai, to give workshops, just to introduce people gently into this world. My problem is that this world keeps changing so much. So what I've learned maybe a month ago and I've developed for someone, I have to redevelop for this new tech, because it just keeps changing every day. Again, like today, text to video games, you just put one image and you tell it what type of game you want. And it's a 3-dimensional game that you can walk through, whatever. There's text to music. There's text to, video. It's an amazing time. But it's daunting. It's
And the growth, it's amazing. It's unprecedented. And I think that's part of what scares people about AI. Do you think we should be wary of what's going to come in the future as it keeps progressing?
So, having been in the Air Force and military, what scares me is our other countries implementing AI in weapons. And I know we're doing it as well, right? Warfare. That's where it's scary, I think. But it's I guess it's part of our evolution as a human species. I like to talk about 4 scenarios, but now it's 5 scenarios of what's going to happen to the human race. One, we become pets to the AI. So in other words, the AI is going to take me out for a walk. 2, we become part AI. So we're like half bionic, half, which is probably the most realistic, right? We're half. The 3rd is that humans are eliminated altogether. And 4th, that this is not real. This is all a simulation. So we don't exist. We're just in some part of somebody's game. And then one of the audience members says, "Why are you so negative? Why not talk about us getting along with AI?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I include that in my slides now. But
yeah. Those are some kind of daunting options for the human race. Yeah. Okay, so I asked ChatGPT to generate 3 questions for this podcast.
Interesting.
So I'm going to read them to you. Are you ready? Okay. We'll go one by one. So first, personal journey. Your LinkedIn showcases an impressive career in AI and emerging technologies. Can you share the pivotal moments in your journey that led you to become an expert in artificial intelligence?
So interesting question. It's actually when I was at Deutsche Advertising. I'll never forget the day the creative team came to me and said, "Volkswagen wants to be able to drive a car with your voice." And I said, "What does that mean?" I don't know what that means. They said, "We make car sounds." And then like vroom, 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 whatever. And I'm like, I don't know how we're going to, this is back in 2015. And I said, I don't know how we're going to do this. So I contacted my colleagues at MIT. They sent me over to Stanford, talked to a gentleman named Andrei Karpathy, who was former head of Tesla AI. And so we learned how to. We had about 1,000 people in the advertising company make 3 different car sounds: accelerating, screeching, braking. The problem is your screeching might sound like this person's accelerating, and so we had to go through thousands and thousands and thousands of audio files. It was rough, but it worked after a few months of training. And then Hot Wheels, Ventel said, "Hey, we really love this, so we'd love to do this for our kids, Hot Wheels." So, but that didn't pan out. And then that was my pivotal moment. And then the boss said, "Well, let's go into virtual reality." And I'm like, "Are you crazy? We just did this AI project." So I quit the company, started my own, and then IBM hired me for the Watson dress I mentioned earlier. So and then my career's been crazy since.
Yeah. So AI trends and challenges. As someone deeply embedded in the AI space, what do you see as the most exciting trends and the biggest challenges facing the industry?
Really, the what's called artificial general intelligence, right? So we can build these models, but they're only good for one thing. Like this weapons detection thing I'm helping build, it's only good for recognizing weapons, nothing else. Artificial general intelligence will take that next level. It's like, oh my God, we have a weapon. The AI will figure out what's the best approach to mitigating this situation. So you'll be hearing a lot more about artificial general intelligence. Basically, it's a digital version of a human that can do anything that way you and I do. That's the big.
Do you think that's the biggest challenge?
Yeah. It's people are making claims today that we have this, but we don't. These large language models. There's also visual language models. There's more information in video versus just text. Interesting thing about large language models, we've trained on every single piece of written data since the history of man, and we've run out. Okay, so now what's happening is we're generating new content with these ChatGPTs, LLMs. The problem is ChatGPT is now retraining on its own generated data. This is akin to maybe the best analogy is inbreeding, if you will, and it's causing all these issues. We're seeing these models collapse because it's just it needs new content, not stuff that's generated. So that's another huge challenge that needs to be overcome.
And that makes me curious too. When I was at that economic forum meeting, they talked about AI having historical biases, like sexism, racism, homophobia. Like, is that something to be aware of? How do you even watch out for that?
I mean, it is, but we're biased as humans, right? We're biased. I don't see how you're going to get away from that. It's in nature too, not just with humans and in the animal kingdom. You see that everywhere. So I think it's just part of we need to learn how to filter, I guess, certain responses. I know ChatGPT knows filtering. If you look up certain people's names, they will not give you any results just because either a lawsuit or it was too controversial. This came out yesterday, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah. Are we now moderating? Are we back to the twitter.com, x.com issue?
Yeah. I mean, it brings up all kinds of ethical questions that we just haven't really addressed. Yeah.
And what else? I mean, that's pretty. So Jan LeCun, he's one of my idols. He's head of AI at Meta, Facebook, and he's saying, "Hey, we've gone down the wrong path. Large language models. We need to reset and go. If we want to get to true artificial general intelligence, we have to reset and figure out new models. Because if you look at the human brain, our body, our whole human body uses 100 watts of energy. Of that, 20 watts is used by your brain to do vision, hearing, taste. We even don't do tasting yet. Who's working on tasting, right? And smelling too. Those are other areas of interest because these robots don't do that yet. There's a lot.
Yeah. And then the last question it asked was about ethics and responsibility. So a good segue. So with AI becoming increasingly powerful, how do you think developers and companies should approach ethical considerations, and where do you see the greatest risks?
Well, risk right now is putting your friend's face on some video or a celebrity on some video, putting yourself in those videos. Even I can grab your voice right now and pretend to be you. I'm sure you've read where people are calling grandparents and saying, "Hey, this is your grandson. I'm in prison. Could you please send us money?" On that note, what I usually tell people is to exchange secret passwords between each other. So if you do get that kind of phone call, say, "What's the secret password?" It's I don't know. It's even on the robotics world. I mean, I was shocked by something, but I don't want to bring it up. But it's
Can you hint at it?
So when I give talks, they usually put me in with Matt McEwen. He owns RealDoll.com. These are sex dolls. Okay, and they're becoming lifelike. People are falling in love with these things. Anyway, it's mind-boggling. but there are a lot of lonely people out there too. So
Yeah. Where do you draw the line?
Yeah, trying to think of what else. I just saw AI Jesus. It's in some church right now. I think either in Germany or Japan, and I mean, I guess any industry or any vertical of industry is open to AI.
Yeah. And we were talking. We're having kind of a Google AI training for the newsroom soon, and I was talking with this expert, and we were looking at this AI generated image from the recent hurricanes and the disasters about this little girl who was like in a sea of water and was really struggling, and it was being used politically to say, oh well, look at these people who aren't doing what they should be, and that's becoming a whole new thing, is how to fact check even just images you're seeing now.
I mean, people are looking at watermarking these images. I mean, there are some. But I know it's just day after day after day, it's getting better and better and better to fool people. So, and the other issue too that's still being litigated is the content that these things were trained on. Like George R. R. Martin in Santa Fe, Game of Thrones guy, all his stuff is in ChatGPT. So how do they need to remove that? A lot, even with images too. A lot of people, if you put your stuff, my recommendation is don't post your stuff on Instagram, your music, in any art form, even written. I mean, but it's going to become part of the, ethos.
Yeah.
And so, again, this is a new frontier for humanity.
What'd you think of the 3 AI generated questions?
Those are great. Yeah, thanks, ChatGPT. But there's others, right? There's Perplexity. Have used that, which is nice. Perplexity.ai. They give you references of their responses. So I think ChatGPT does the same. If you ask for it, it'll give you references for all those questions where they came from. There's Perplexity. There's so many out there now. What we call. There's Anthropic, Claude.ai is another ChatGPT like system. So I don't know. We'll see who survives.
Yeah, and maybe a good place to end our conversation here is if you're somebody who's never used AI, where do you start?
Yeah, that's a good question. Usually I tell people to just go on to ChatGPT, the basic model. It's free. And just start playing with it. Just start asking questions. One of my favorite examples to tell people is to go in your refrigerator. I pick a bunch of ingredients in there, put those in ChatGPT, and ask it to make a recipe from that. And it works well. So I don't know if you want orange pie ketchup or some. I had some strange thing, but just play with these tools. They're free.
Yeah, I might try that. I have a strange arrangement of foods in my fridge tonight, so maybe I'll create a good recipe. Well, thank you so much for coming on to talk about this. It's been so interesting.
Yeah. And no, thank you again. And again, newmexico.ai. Please go to our website. Just all the information's there.
Awesome. Great.